Hi, thank you so much for joining me. This is Esther from Stampin' Star Creations. I'm back with another Christmas Stampathon 2020 challenge, and this month is to do a fancy fold card. So I'm tackling the impossible card. This is the first time I've done it, and I've adapted the measurements to try and suit an A6 card or just trim it down. So I'm showing you the back to show you that you need a plain piece of card which is folded in half down the middle. We crease down the middle and then we make a fold in the top down the centre, and then we have two tabs on either side. Please don't panic and worry. I am going to talk through step by step all the measurements so that you can keep up with me. So the trick to this is the turning in the card, like so. It looks as if it's made up of lots of separate pieces of card when actually it's a trick of the eye, and it's all about the way that you turn the card. So I'm grabbing in my trimmer to cut down a piece of very vanilla cardstock. So I'm cutting it in half. This is A4, so it will be the same in the UK and Australia. And then cutting it in half again. So we've got quarters. This cuts it down to what we call A6 size. So then each piece is going to be cut down a little bit off the ends to round it off so that I've got a nice easy figure to be able to work with. So cutting from the short side, I'm just cutting these pieces down to 4 inches, and then on the long side at 5 3/4 of an inch. So 4 inches by 5 3/4. As you can see, it's little wasted, just a couple of strips taken off. So just bringing in my sample for reference, we're scoring down the centre on the short side of the card, so your 4-inch side, and we're scoring it at the 2-inch, just scoring. So that creates the fold down the middle of your card. Next, we want to look at the cuts. So the cuts are only to that halfway fold. So putting the long side in, we're cutting that down the middle at 2 7/8, and I marked it with a pencil, so hopefully you can get a clearer look as to what I'm doing. So starting from the centre and just cutting halfway, and cutting it at the 2 7/8 of an inch. So that's the big notch just before the 3-inch is the 7/8. I'm turning the card round to the other side, and I'm going to cut just an inch. Again, we're just doing it up to that score line there where I'm showing you with the pencil. So if you're not confident with the trimmer, or you feel that you might cut too much, then you can do this with scissors. It just takes measuring with scissors and ruler. So now we want to do the other side of where we did the 1-inch. So we've got parallel lines on both sides. So I've just flipped the card round, so it's easy for the measurements just to do that side at 1 inch as well. So you've got your middle cut at the top and then your 2 cuts at the bottom. I hope that makes sense, and I hope you're sticking with me during the process. You can start to see how this card is taking shape. So you're folding it in half along that 2-inch crease. I'm using my bone folder to get good burnish in the creases, squashing the creases down. And there you can see, just hold on to the left side and twist the right, and then that middle flap stays up like that as your stand. Okay, you can turn it around to have it in the other way if you want to, it doesn't really matter, but that's the secret to the card. So I'm just getting my rubber here to rub out any pencil marks, especially if you've done this with pencil and ruler, you might want to rub those marks out before going ahead and stamping. So I'm trying to figure out the best way of stamping this. Now, when people have made these cards before, I've noticed they've used paper on top, and rather than giving you more measurements for trying to cut out paper, I thought I'd stamp the section that I wanted to stamp on the base of the card. So I'm using some post-it notes to mask off the areas, and as you can see, it's like a letter P. Hopefully this will guide you through if you're doing the same process of trying to mask and stamp. Now, I did think I was going to use this stamp without the block, but actually I thought it's better to get an all-over impression by putting it on a block. So I'm just taking a sponge and just sponging the edges. I just find this helps to close in the image and just gives it a nice look around the edge of the card. Peeling off those post-it notes and then thinking about how I want to mask the next bit. So twisting my card round, trying to figure out where it's got to go, and I thought actually I just need to lay it flat and then mask off the back side of the card. I'm using my post-it note to tuck underneath just so that I don't get any ink on the side that I don't want it to go. So last time we had the P shape, and now we're going for a lowercase d shape. Again, just using up the ink on the stamp and stamping it a few times. Then just twist your card back into shape, and then as you can see, it's stamped in the right areas, leaving that middle panel blank for decoration. So I'm going in with the Bloom and Grow stamp set and the smallest of the flower arrangements, and I'm sticking with smoky slate colour, smoky slate, to do my outline, and grabbing my Stampin' Blends and using Cherry Cobbler, Real Red and Old Olive for the colouring. Now when I stamped in the smoky slate, I wasn't sure if this was going to work. I didn't know if the outline was going to be too faint, but I thought there's only one way to find out, and that's to just persevere, colour it in and see if it works or not. So I didn't realise that I picked up the Real Red, so I've got dark Cherry Cobbler in the middle and then the Real Red, but the whole idea of the exercise was to have all the flowers red but in slightly different colours with each flower, using my colour lifter just to blend some of that colour and to create a few highlights. So next I'm going in with the dark Real Red and then touching it up with the dark Cherry Cobbler for highlights. So if you're a bit unsure about how to use the blends or how to highlight certain areas, just think about where the colour will form on flowers, so just tucking them into the petals and just going over again with the Real Red just to blend those colours. For the last flower I used a light Real Red and then going in again with some dark Real Red. It's a good start to go with the light and dark combination, especially if you're a beginner, and then using the Old Olive for the leaves. I deliberately leave out the berries because I want to do something else with those in a minute. So the great thing about this stamp set is it comes with a matching die, so I can just go ahead and cut out that flower. So in Cherry Cobbler I've cut myself out a strip of 5" by 1" Cherry Cobbler card, and I've used the same little dies from the Bloom and Grow stamp set to cut out some twigs and foliage bits to decorate my card. And I'm just using my tweezers to add a bit of dimension to all these pieces. So I'm going in with gorgeous bright red rhinestones, and I thought actually I can't cover them all the berries up with the rhinestones, or else I'm going to quickly run out. So I've chosen just one berry from each little bunch and then coming in with my pen to colour in the rest of the berries. So the strip is going to lay across the front of the card. This just keeps it stable and gives it decoration as well. So just figuring out where I'm going to lay down my leaves. Now when you come to glue the strip, you obviously want to glue one side. If you put your finger just in front of where you want to glue it, it helps to give you a guide. Don't forget to use your grid paper to line things up and make sure things are straight, especially with this kind of card where it does wobble a little bit and can move out of position. Using some large Stampin' Dimensionals, I'm placing them in the centre so they've got a space around the edge to tuck in any gluing when it comes to sticking in those extra bits. So because the card isn't necessarily symmetrical with the front display, I was making sure that my leaves that I put in weren't necessarily symmetrical either, and just placing some on either side to try and balance them out. Then adding the little red flowers, and they were cut out using real red. I decided to stick one in the middle with a gem just to create a focal point on the flower. Adding that gold glimmer paper just adds a bit of Christmas sparkle too. I've then gone ahead and cut out a 1 3/4 inch by 1 1/4 inch card, again in cherry cobbler, just to act as my panel, and I've got a nice very vanilla border around the centre. Going in with a message from Itty Bitty Christmas, and using again smoky slate to stamp this, and I'm going to be using the smallest of that section of stitch dies, which is the 2 1/2 inch across rectangular stitched die to cut out my sentiment. This fitted really nicely in the middle, but I just wanted something else to add to it. Going in with my old olive blender pen, I'm going to use this white crinkle seam binding ribbon. I'm putting it on my block so that any ink that soaks through can go straight to the ribbon. If it's done on paper, obviously it just soaks through your paper, but this way the ribbon soaks it all up. Because it's an alcohol pen, it does dry really quickly, and it's a great way to be able to colour in your ribbons. You will find that if you put it on your block, it will stain your block because of the alcohol, but if you've got something like hand sanitizer, that's perfect. So I tried with the chamois, but because the chamois was wet already, it was just soaking in the liquid, but with a dry cloth, this was great for taking off the alcohol. After colouring in the ribbon, it does make it stiffer, but you can still work with it to create a bow, and this just adds a lovely touch of colour to your project. I decided just to sponge the edges of the sentiment just to have it in keeping with my card, and adding that bow to the corner. I'm really pleased with how this comes out because it does also fold flat. So when it goes in an envelope, it will fold flat, and then you can ping it up when the recipient gets it, or you can tell somebody how it goes. But it's a great way to be able to send a 3D card but in a flat format. So I've really enjoyed doing this impossible card. I think I'll definitely be giving it another go. I hope the tutorial has helped you to be inspired to give it a go yourself. So I'm going in with some Wink of Stella just to touch up the flowers and give it an extra bit of sparkle. Please do head over to us on Facebook and join in with the Christmas Stampathon 2020 challenge and get set for Christmas early. You'll thank us later. Do subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and give me a thumbs up for the video. Have a good day.